Top 5 season changer games here in week 3. Or I guess it's week 4. I'm sorry, my bad. But this is a really interesting week, and you've got so many good games this week, and they could change what your overall goals could be should they go a certain way. Number 5, UCLA and Utah. One of these teams will be behind the 8 ball with a loss when it comes to winning a very contested Pac-12. And if you're Utah and get Cam Rising back, it can really, raise your hopes in that, especially if he plays well in his first game, about maybe getting that 3rd Pac-12 title in a row. But this one to me is really interesting, especially if Cam Rising plays. We're going to see conflicting styles. Chip Kelly's going to try to, go. And Utah, even with Cam Rising there, especially him first game back from that ACL tear, is going to try to slow this thing down to the slow gravy pouring out of the boat in a mashed potatoes commercial. That's what they're going to want to do because they need to keep it their style as much as they can, because even with Cam Rising, you don't want to just run right out of the gate with him, I think.
Yeah, need to see if he's playing. That's the big story heading into this game is whether or not he's ready at this point. Hopefully he is, because he's, he makes Utah a better college football team, and we want to see the best teams be as, good as they can be, and certainly Utah's at their best with Cam Rising at the helm, but been really impressed by the youngster in Dante Moore for UCLA. He's been killing it. They got J. Michael Sturdivant, the receiver from Texas, who had a big game a couple weeks ago, and they've got it's just fun. It's fun watching Chip do his thing, man, and be the offensive guru that he's so long been. But yeah, this should be a super clash of styles of between these two teams that I think makes for a fascinating matchup and just a coaching matchup. So, yeah, somebody's taking their first loss, and that first loss will also be a Pac-12 loss, so you will get a little bit of a head start on UCLA on Utah or Utah on UCLA, vice versa.
When you're as deep as they are, with the playmakers they have, not just the quarterbacks, almost every week you're going to have at least 2 to 3 games that you can't wait to watch them.
Yep. Number 4, Ole Miss versus Bama. For Alabama, this could be where they, rise from the dead, or where their hopes of being where they normally are at the end of the year are over in week 4. Because if they take that second loss, holy cow, especially if they look anything like they had the last couple weeks on offense, it is not going to be good for them going forward, because they're going to play a lot of teams with high-flying offenses on the way out here, and they'll have 8 more games to do it in. And for Ole Miss, if you beat Alabama and kind of put them out of the SEC race, or at least behind the 8 ball in the SEC race, and can remain undefeated and start building something with Judkins and Dart and everything you've got going there, maybe, just maybe, you can upset the apple cart in the SEC a little bit more. Look, they're undefeated right now, and we said yesterday, I've said it on 2 different podcasts now, I personally don't think the SEC's got a second team in the playoff as it stands right now. But as the record stands, and if they keep winning, Ole Miss has the best shot at being that second team with Georgia if everything, continues on that path. But as we know, there's very little room for error. But this one could be a season changer, especially for Alabama.
If Alabama had the defense that we're normally used to seeing, then they would, keep this game contained. Ole Miss is going to score some points, and can Alabama match whatever Ole Miss does? That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, Quinshon Judkins, is he going to be able to play? I know he was doubtful as of a couple of days ago. I hadn't followed back up on that. If he couldn't play, that would be a huge loss. He's a great player, man. He's a lot of fun. But yeah, this is fascinating. Even if you strip away all the stuff that we all just said, just Kiffin versus Saban. That's just, that right there is the ticket, no matter what the records are or anything else. And so, you throw in the fact that Alabama could be 1 month into the season and already have 2 losses. That's just unfathomable. Mm-hmm. And that would be a totally different conversation than we've had in quite some time. And just the reaction of Lane Kiffin if they beat Alabama and what that would look like is, I want to see that. Part of me wants to see that. But, if Bama wins this game, I think they can at least quiet some doubters. I don't know that they'll shut them up fully, but I do think that they could, calm some of the nerves, for at least the time being to get a win over Ole Miss. But, yeah, this is going to be a fun game. I can't wait.
Number 3.
By the way, Saban likes to annoy the hell out of. Kiffin likes.
Yeah.
He likes to get under.
He's a troll.
And he is very good at it. And they both know each other well because they coached under him. But it's just kind of interesting to watch Kiffin try to mimic and then just get under his skin.
Yeah. Number 3, Wazzu and Oregon State. Very anticipated game this weekend for me, and I think should be for everybody. These two teams are playing really, really well. There's going to be probably a lot of points scored in this game. I think there's going to be some excellent quarterback play in this game. I think you're going to see some just bursting emotions from both the fan bases in this game. And, again, Pac-12 game, so the loser – behind it a little bit when it comes to winning the league, and the winner, kind of still on track. The league is good enough to where if it was a 12-team playoff year already, I would be confident in saying that 3 Pac-12 teams would be in a 12-team playoff this season.
I agree.
I think so. And it's good enough to where if the SEC gets the rug pulled out from them, I see them being the only league, honestly, that could get 2 teams in the 4-team playoff this year because of how good their teams are in the league, which would really be salt in the wound to the whole league. But this is good. And these 2 teams, I'm not sure long term how they would play out. I lean a little Oregon State on this one, but man, it is going to be an absolute blast to watch this game.
DJ against Cam Ward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be points. That's the one thing you feel super confident about. But, yeah, the quarterback matchup is tantalizing. DJ Uiagalelei having a resurgence post-Clemson, and great to see that for that young man after he was just thrown under the bus multiple times for Clemson's woes, and now he's gone off to Corvallis and has gotten off to a pretty good start. They have a fun offense. Love Damian Martinez, another Texas guy, the running back. He's like almost a guaranteed 100 yards every single week, but he's going to be fun. And Cam Ward, you mentioned him over on the other side, opposite of DJU. I mean, a young man who started off, and he's a perfect example of why the transfer portal is a good thing, because he started off at a much smaller school, wound his way up to Washington State, and has just been throwing up huge numbers. And talk about another fun offense to watch. So, yeah, this is going to be a great game. This is the battle of the Pac-12 2 or the Pac-2 or whatever, but man, I just hope it's as entertaining as I anticipate that it can be. And yeah, I expect there will be points. There will be high-level quarterback play. And for me, just having kind of that other eye from the Earl Award and stuff on some of the Texas guys, there's some pretty good Texas players in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong in this, and Oregon State and Washington State fans that are watching this can correct me, but at least in my lifetime of observing football, this is the best that these 2 teams have been at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
there might be another one that I'm not thinking of, but usually to me, when I think of it, it's like one of them is on the up and the other one is not. But the fact that these 2 teams are this good at this time is really the only time I remember it in my life. So
yeah, I mean, there might be that 1994 they were because we're not Pac-12 historians, that it slips through the cracks a little bit. But yeah, I mean, this is best as I can recall. I haven't given much thought, but this has got to be one of the most highly anticipated matchups.
This is the first time that they've both been ranked?
Well, go ahead and finish what you were saying.
I just did.
Okay, all right.
Up at the top. I thought I saw it highlighted.
First matchup in the series where both teams are nationally ranked in the top 25.
There we go. So, yeah, that would probably be
107 meetings prior to this one.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Number 2, Ohio State versus Notre Dame. This one for Notre Dame can say if you're a playoff contender to me or not. For Ohio State, probably the same thing a little bit. I think they get a little bit more benefit of the doubt because they've been there, even though they're breaking in some new players, but especially at quarterback, but they're still Ohio State. They still have Brian Hartline at OC. They still have all those great wide receivers. We'll see how much improved they are. And also, how much improved is Ohio State on defense, which has been their Achilles heel for the last couple of years. This will be a test for them, especially up front, which has been their problem. And with that offense at Notre Dame and Audric Estime kind of running right at you, we'll see. Can Ohio State contain Notre Dame? And right now, for the first time, what would be in any kind of, if you just kind of picked out of last 25 years, just put these two teams on the field at the same time, who's going to have the more experienced and better quarterback, it probably would not have been Notre Dame at any of those points. And here you have Sam Hartman at a clear advantage and experience-wise over Kyle McCord, who I'm sure is going to be a fine player, but right now Sam Hartman's got the more skins on the wall.
With Ryan Day, if in fact Notre Dame wins, okay, they're a top 10 program, but and then you still have what you have left, including Michigan down the road. I mean, again, there's just very room for error when you're the head coach at Ohio State or even some other places too. But I love this matchup because I think it's a game where Notre Dame can actually stay in a shootout.
I mean, yeah, that's what he's getting at with you had the quarterback advantage. That's the whole point of just where, you start to look immediately with this game is that's not typically where you look, and that's where you immediately go eyes-wise. That's the difference Sam Hartman makes for you in theory, but Ohio State's finally settled in on their choice there, so that saga is over as far as, how that was going to work out with their competition, and McCord's the guy. So this is the game that I think most curious about. There's others that maybe I'm more entertained by of like how they could potentially go or the outcome, but this one I'm just going to sit back and just enjoy two of the arguably top 5 programs in the country duking it out. This is going to be a lot of fun, and there's plenty of questions about Ohio State. There's plenty of doubters when it comes to Notre Dame's start, and something's going to give, and that's the beauty of it is we only have to wait a little while longer to see.
And number 1, Florida State versus Clemson.
Homer.
No, I cannot stress this enough. Out of all these games this weekend, if Florida State loses this game, their goals aren't shot. But, man, does it make that LSU win seem less important? Because all the stuff you've done doesn't matter unless you can unseat the current king of the conference. You've got to do this. And it's doubly big because Clemson's already lost. So because you could beat them for a second time in the ACC, you could possibly guarantee that you won't see them again because Duke already beat them. So this really, really has a huge weight on it.
You're so uptight on this right now.
Oh, yeah. And look,
you're puckered.
And look, for Clemson, this is a game where you can rise back up and say, we're not dead yet.
It's a feel-good win anytime, but it would really kind of clear the air a little bit on all the things that are lingering over the fact they were beaten in that opening game.
So all the hype that surrounded Florida State since the end of last year, through the winning streak that they've had, which I think is like 9 games now, rolling through, and this is a team that can contend for the college football playoff. If they don't beat Clemson, then that hype has to slow way, way, way down.
If Florida State beats Clemson, LSU should never get back in the top 25, Garrett. Is that right?
I might agree with you, man. I might agree at this point.
Clemson's still good. You never know. That'll be a hell of a game. What time's that kick off?
It's at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Cade Klubnik had a bit of a bounce back. Granted, it was against some inferior competition, but I think they just really needed him to have a strong game and kind of get some of his confidence underneath him. So they're coming in, I think, much better off than, when we were reading them their last rites as a program a couple of weeks ago. So this is a little spicier than maybe you thought after week 1, right? When it looked like Florida State was certainly heading in one direction and Clemson was heading in the other, but this ought to be awesome. And, somebody gets a leg up, and in Clemson's case, they can ill afford to have another second conference loss on their resume, or that just shatters all your hopes and dreams, basically, for the most part. So, this is I think a lot of people are going to be watching, hoping and praying that FSU falls here, right? Because Clemson's already taken their loss. So if you're one of those teams, like, how do you jockey yourself into the playoff? Well, have Florida State get beaten the first month, and they got to play out the rest of their schedule, and the odds increase that they'll probably could have another, but you got to get that first one first to open the door. Clemson's already opened it, and we'll see if they can now bust it open on the Knoll side as well.
Man, I got to look at the times. I know that Colorado and Oregon are 11. That game's at 11. It's going to be kind of like just morphing from one good one into another good one into another good one throughout the day.
I mean, this is definitely a much better weekend